What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So my prediction was Valentina would win the fight last night against Taila Santos, but there in about the fourth round, I started to think I was going to be wrong in my prediction. She ultimately ended up squeezing out the split decision. A lot of people think Santos got robbed here, but one thing is for sure, nobody's tested Valentina like that in quite some time.
Yeah, Taila Santos was a star was born last night. I think that people know she's the number one girl at 125 right now. And Valentina, it was almost like a breath of fresh air. Obviously, you want to go win every time you fight, but when we've seen her just go with flawless victory after flawless victory, not really get tested, not really get tried in any sort of way, not on the feet, not on the ground, anything, it's almost nice to see her actually get into a fight. And when you use the word fight, you mean like somebody that you got to dig deep to be in a fight, right?
Yeah.
You got to really actually, put your heels in the ground and push back. And it felt like she hasn't done that in a while. So you see her confidence changed a little bit. You saw her going for takedowns because she realized Talia is a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and can deal with some of those shots that she's throwing at her. And when she realized she probably wasn't going to get the finish on the feet, that's when Valentina started to go for takedowns and go for trying to control the fight on the ground and maybe even look for some submissions of her own. But Taila Santos is obviously the number one contender, and I think that we've got a future star and a future champ on our hands.
No question about it. I mean, she's still in her late 20s. She's got a lot of years and a lot of growth still to be had. And to be able to put on a performance like that against the Bullet, where one of three judges actually thought she got the better of Valentina, certainly speaks to where the trajectory of where she's heading going forward. I think Taila Santos, absolutely, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when will she be the champion at 125. I think she deserves, after that performance, a rematch with Valentina immediately, because I actually scored at 48-47 for Santos. And I know some of those rounds where she was in top position, there was some stand-ups and things like that. There wasn't a whole lot of activity, but at the end of the day, she was controlling the fight from top position. She did have her moments on the feet. Valentina, unfortunately, the eye closure was kind of the sore thumb that sticks out in that fight, because it came from a headbutt, and it's once you have a compromised vision, it really changes everything in the fight from there. And it's kind of unfortunate that happened from a move that wasn't a punch or a kick or an elbow that did that. It was an accidental headbutt. So you kind of hate to see that. So for all of those reasons, I do want to see this run back immediately. I mean, I don't know when Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes is going to shake out. They still have to finish their Ultimate Fighter stuff. And then, they're talking about Valentina potentially fighting the winner of that. But I think there's some time in the interim that we could run this Santos fight back. And I think there's really good reason to call for it.
Yeah, Valentina has done the unpopular thing in today's day and age in MMA, which is to stay in your division and defend your belt. And a lot of people just want to get a hold of the belt and then run up to the next division or run down to the next division. She's like, look, I'm built for 125. I'm just going to run this thing up. And I think that's kind of a good thing to do. You want to go achieve as much as you can as the champion. There's incentives to being the champion, and you don't get those until you actually hold the belt, and then you get some more pay-per-view points and whatnot. And so she's obviously doing great financially, and she's making history as the champion. I don't really see the need to jump forward, but now there's even less reason for her to jump up to 135. You've got a real opponent. You've got a real contender there. When it seemed like she had nobody, within a country mile of her skills or able to compete with her, it's like, okay, maybe I could see her going up and fighting an even bigger person, getting a third fight with Amanda, getting another fight with Juliana, and maybe see what happens with the size disadvantage. But right now, Taila Santos has shown us that there is somebody that can absolutely hang with her, win rounds, win exchanges. Even the judges are going to give her some rounds and give her the fight. I personally, if I was in Valentina's corner come fifth round, I would be telling her, you got to get a finish, because this is an even fight right now. Yeah. I don't know if I wouldn't feel comfortable with any of those rounds. Obviously I had it going 2-2 going into the fifth round. And Valentina looked really good on the bottom. She's one of the best fighters to fight from the bottom, from a closed guard position. She was very active with her striking from the bottom. And that's why they stood Taila up, because Taila was in her guard. And generally, that's a good place to be for ground and pound, but she wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot. In fact, Valentina was doing more from the bottom position of the ground and pound. And that's why they kept getting stood up. And for me, Taila Santos reversed enough positions. She did enough on the ground, and she did enough during the standing up portions of a few of those rounds to get the nod and get the win and get the 10-9. in her favor. But, it just showed very late in the fight how Valentina is able to go for those takedowns, be tenacious, control the octagon. And it comes down to all of those things when you realize that it's not going to be a knockout and it's not going to be a submission that gets you the win. It comes down to those other situations.
Yeah, and I don't take issue with the split decision win for Valentina. The fight was 48-47. Whether you score that for Santos or Valentina, I'm cool with. What I take issue with was the judge that scored that 4-1 for Valentina. I don't know what he or she was watching, but that fight was the furthest thing from 4 rounds to 1 for Valentina.
Yeah, I completely agree. Valentina looked great out there. There was things that she was doing, but Taila Santos had her questioning herself, had her really thinking, second guessing. Maybe I shouldn't stand and trade with this girl, because while Talia's head and shoulders below Valentina as far as the kicks and the punches go, she was able to get those takedowns. She was able to get reversals and all of that stuff. And Valentina realized she's not going to finish her on the feet. She's got to go down there and hold her down and maybe just, grind out a victory that's unorthodox for Valentina. Valentina can generally get a hold of a girl, put her on the ground and submit her, or get ground and pound and get the ref to stop the fight, or she can just shut the lights out with a head kick or some punches. And that's how I thought the fight was going to end. I will say that my prediction technically was right, but I was way off on how this fight was going to go. I thought it was going to be a lamb going out to slaughter, and Taila Santos proved me wrong. She's absolutely championship caliber. I think that she deserves an immediate rematch, and she's probably going to go fix some of those mistakes that she made. Without a headbutt injury, we could be seeing a completely different fight and a completely different champion.
Yeah, and I think, listen, Valentina's the queen of 125, and I always thought that she would go down to 115 before she'd go up to 135, and we saw that in the embeddeds. She literally puts on a sweatshirt, jogs the parking lot of the hotel, and then makes 125. She's a small girl. She's not in any way built for 135. She just doesn't really like to cut weight. But make no mistake, there are women in the 115 division that are larger than Valentina Shevchenko. She's fought Joanna multiple times throughout her Muay Thai career, and they were fighting in the same weight class. And, Joanna spent her entire career, almost her entire career at 115. So I would think a potential matchup with Zhang Weili, if she can get the belt back or something like that, would be more intriguing than going up and either trying to beat Juliana Pena again or fighting Amanda Nunes for the third time. But who really knows? I think that we're witnessing a changing of the guard, though. Even though Santos didn't get her hand raised last night, she's 28. Valentina's pushing 35. If this fight gets pushed back another 12 or 18 months, I could see where the scales, so to speak, tip in the favor of Santos, and you have a new best 125 in the world. So it's an interesting time because we haven't seen the scales tip at women's flyweight in a very, very long time.
Yeah,
ever really since the beginning of the division in the UFC.
Right. She's the queen and she's running that throne. And, it's going to be hard. It's not an easy fight for Taila to win, but it's definitely winnable. I think that if she's not able to get finished by Valentina, if she's able to take the punches, take the kicks, and then Valentina has to resort to taking her to the ground, she showed us that she's got the skills to reverse any top position that Valentina gets, and she's able to get to a good position herself. Now, if she can increase her skills in the ground and pound realm and in the submission realm, she could have a real problem for Valentina whenever they do have a rematch. I want to see it next. Maybe they won't make it happen. Who knows? But hopefully the UFC does give us that fight sooner than later.
Let's hope so. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment. Do you think the judges got this one wrong, or do you think Valentina did enough to squeak out the victory against Santos? If you haven't already, a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel is much appreciated. See you in the next one.
Peace.